Welcome everybody. I've got some huge buffs from my boy Marowak. I will be covering Alola Marowak in a separate video, but just know that the main form of Alola Marowak, the non-totem form, has the same abilities, Headstrong and Technician, and has very similar stats. It just has 5 more speed. And maybe I will, maybe if I actually have time, I'll cover Alola Marowak in this video as well, but I'll most likely separate videos because they have a lot of unique moves and totem form that's like different stat-wise. But as for Cantonian Marowak, it has some awesome new buffs in the form of that amazing ground and fighting dual stab. Excuse me, holy crap. And incredible abilities, which work really well with its buffed and changed moves. Not only did I buff and change their signature moves, but also pretty much every single move in this hack is buffed or changed in some regard. You can check all of them out in the description down below. It says search all moves here. You can look at literally every single move buffed and changed. They're all really, really interesting and worth looking at, and they heavily impact the way that the Pokemon are going to function now. So yeah, as you can see on screen, it's got all these little different categories, and you can, automatically go to them. And you can also just look at. I'm deleting this. Is just fucking corny. Fucking picture, fucking avatar on there. It's gone. I just wanted to fill up the dead space. Anyway, I'm getting like sick and embarrassed when looking at it. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say for now because I will be covering the super important move buff and changes in this video that are relevant to Marowak specifically, but I'm not gonna have time to get into every single one. And also, it'll just help you understand the Pokemon better. So yeah, with that being said. Great abilities, Headstrong prevents recoil, and Technician boosts an incredible array of his moves. He also has a much better speed stat. 90 is like the absolute max I see for him. Honestly, it's pretty damn generous. It's actually very generous, but there are a lot of other weird Pokemon that have like 90 to 100 speed that don't look like they should be. Not to mention, especially Alola Marowak, like they look super agile. Like you can see them like running around and shit. Cantonian Marowak less so, but like the lowest speed I would have given him would have been like 80, and then maybe a little bit more bulk, but this is best in my opinion. The speed set is nice. Of course, you do have tons of new priority moves though. So Bone Rush is now essentially ground type Mach Punch instead of a multi-hit move. So with Technician, that is a 75 base power priority move. That's insane, coming off a thick club with base 80 attack. And you, of course, also have regular gold Mach Punch, which is also widely distributed in this hack. Pretty much every single Pokemon in the game has dual stab priority in most cases when applicable. You also have First Impression, which is Technician boosted up to 135 base power via TM because it's 60 base power, but it always crits, so that's pretty cool. Tons of great coverage moves that are Technician boosted, but some of the other really important things are late game in the Aether Foundation / Pony Island, so at the very end of the game, you'll be getting Boomerang, which is now 100% accurate, 60 base power per hit, which is I believe it's 60. I was like choosing between making it 60 or 50. Pretty sure I made it 60 though. Yeah, it's 60. So I just checked in the files. I could switch to the tab, but it'll lag a little bit while I'm recording, so I don't feel like doing that. But again, if you're looking at the Google Sheet, I highly encourage you to use that move sheet. I just already know what most of the moves do. Literally all of them. So yeah, Boomerang, that is 180 base power. It hits twice. It hits right through Focus Sash, 30, Multi-Scale, Energy Shield, Shuka Berry, etc. It's a great move, incredible with Technician. And then you also have Rock Blast and Pummel. Pummel being Stab. It's basically Fighting type Bullet Seed, and then Rock Blast is still Rock Blast. So Pummel for Stab, Fighting type move right there, super good with Technician. Of course, the priority moves. I would never ever delete Bone Rush. That's like a staple move right there. And then other Technician options like Knockoff and Covet are 90 base power always now with Technician. So those are all pretty nice. Power Up Punch, that's stab and gives you a +1 attack each time you click it. 75 base power with Technician, that's pretty great. You got all types of little fun options with Technician. It's a great ability for him, and it also fits very well. I haven't really covered the logic for the fighting typing yet. Hopefully it's obvious, but some people might not like it. In this ROM hack, I want to have at least one Pokemon of every single type combination, and the only candidate for ground fighting was Marowak, or technically I could change Terrakion or give Primeape the typing, but I see it way less on Primeape than I do on Marowak. And then like changing Terrakion feels kind of smelly. But like, I don't know, if I had to, I would have, I guess. Regardless though, Marowak, ground fighting, very, very fitting. If you read the Pokedex, it talks about like from birth, this savage Pokemon constantly holds bones. It's skilled in using them as weapons, which is also why I gave Technician. Its temperament turned ferocious when it began using bones. It throws the bones skillfully to boomerang targets. It's adept with its bone club. So all that reason is why Technician fits. And as for Headstrong, first of all, they already have the ability Rockhead, I believe. Which is the same thing. It's just a renamed version, so I can give it to more Pokemon. And also, the reason they had Rockhead is because of the skull helmet, obviously. So, with Headstrong, the earliest possible use of Headstrong, I actually should give Double Edge on Evolution, shouldn't I? For Headstrong, just for like a decent little early game option at level 28, but it's not the best because it's not stab. But you could use it for a few levels, maybe. You have really bad Vorpal Slot Syndrome on Marowak, though, so it's Probably hard to justify double edge, but maybe if you wanted it. Hold on. Marowak. 0 double edge. So yeah, with that being said, Headstrong, the main uses is to prevent, stab recoil moves and also coverage. So the first ones you get access to via TM are Play Rough, Wild Charge, Rock Climb, and Takedown. Takedown being a fighting type stab move, and then you have Rock, Electric, and Fairy coverage, all of which are 110 base power and will deal 0% recoil with Headstrong. There's a full list of the moves here, so I guess I'll quickly redirect to it. There's also a full list of the Technician boosted moves, but I already know what all the moves are, so the main options later on, though, are Brutal Swing in the late 40s, which is great. 125 base power, 0% recoil, dark type coverage, great on a fighting type Pokemon, of course. And then you have Headlong Rush and Submission for dual stab, grounded fighting, 150 base power moves that deal 0% recoil damage. Keep in mind, this is complete overkill. I would say that despite how tempting the Unga Bunga Headstrong, Headlong Rush might be, not that it's bad, because it's not bad, but the thing is, you can't run a Toy Scarf on your Marowak, right? So your 90 base speed, especially when you're not guaranteed a max speed IVs or a plus speed nature, you're not outspeeding that many things, all right? You're probably better off running him in a bulkier fashion in most of the boss fights, unless you're running Toy Scarf, which you can't do because of the Thick Club. So overall, Headstrong is cool and all, but it's a little bit situational, which is why it's nice to have the TMs, like Takedown and stuff. Meanwhile, Technician is just consistently great because you have the priority move, so it bypasses your lower speed stat, and you get the dual stab, Mach Punch, Bone Rush, First Impression for coverage, and also just for a stronger move, and all types of other useful things. So I would say Technician is still a little bit better, but this is one of those cases where it's hard to pick a secondary ability that's as good as Technician. I usually try to balance all Pokemon to have 2 good abilities with an infinite usability capsule, and I'm kind of underselling Headstrong. It's still good. It's just without the max speed IVs in the nature, like you're not outspeeding that many things realistically, unless you got lucky. Of course, if you got like a Jolly nature, Mac 31 speed IVs, go ahead and go crazy with Headstrong. But even then, it's overkill. You don't need 150 base power moves coming off of 80 base attack with Thick Club. You don't need that. That's literally overkill. You're killing whatever's in front of you. You're not killing you're not clicking Headlong Rush on a poison type and then the opponent switches into their, flying type or not. Okay, I was gonna say it takes damage, but that's the bad analogy. Okay, fighting type, right? They switch into their poison type with submission and they take 40% because it's such a fucking strong move. That's not a factor in this. The AI doesn't switch out unless they use a switch move. So overall, you're just doing overkill. Boomerang is not overkill because it's already coming off of a good ability with Technician with Bone Rush, which is priority and stuff. So Boomerang, and also it has the utility of hitting twice, and it's also just really strong, so you can actually kill neutral things. While with Headlong Rush, you're actually still dropping your defensive stats, so it still functions like close combat, right? It doesn't sound like it has no drawbacks with Headstrong. So cool ability and all, fits very well, so that's why I kept it. But it's not like the best thing on the planet. In a competitive sense, it would be pretty fucking crazy. You're going around spamming all these crazy moves, but in game, nothing too crazy at all. Belly Drum is insane with Bone Rush and Mach Punch. Really nice combo. Perish Song and Counter are really good for the late game totems, Kombo-O and Rabambi. Bone Club always drops defense. That's 85 base power. Technician Beat Up is another good option. Your Beat Up itself won't be doing much damage because your base attack is still low at base 80, or relatively low at least. But of course, if you have other allies, Beat Up will, at worst, with Technician, Beat Up is like, if you have all 6 Pokemon alive, probably like 100 base power at worst. And that's like a worst case scenario because the average base power for Beat Up, I believe, is going to be around 80 something. So it's probably going to be around 120 base power, which is really nice for that early in the game. Battle Cry is a great utility move, especially because you are pretty tanky. I did want to get them a bit more bulk, but I don't see anything higher than like 75 base HP and 85 SPDEV. And I would have to make speed a little bit higher. I don't know. I think the 40 base total is fine. It fits alongside a Pokemon like Azumarill and Dickersby, the other huge power guys who, well, obviously he doesn't have huge power, but with the Thick Club, he effectively does, only he can't hold an item, which is why he has boosting abilities. So overall, Marowak's the GOAT. Like, I'm not trying to undersell him. He is the GOAT. I would just say that the Technician priority spam is a lot more valuable for most boss fights. Of course, he still has good utility. He's got Parting Shot, typical stuff in this ROM hack, very widely distributed, but it's still good nonetheless. Yeah, I think I'll leave that off here and talk about Alolan in the next video, but just keep in mind that Alolan will function similarly. The base form of Alolan, it has very similar stats and the exact same abilities. With just Ghost and Fire Stab instead. That's another reason I like the ground inviting type of Marowak, by the way. It makes him not like objectively worse than Cantonian or Alolan Marowak because now he has actual dual stab, and Ghost Fire and ground fighting are both really good dual stab combos. So it's really cool that like they both are kind of like they're both extremely equal now in my opinion because they both have their own utility, they both have dual stab priority, and they both have great coverage and just a good typings. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'll be back for more buffs and changes coming up. Peace, y'all. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out the description. Appreciate it.